Good morning, Mitsu.
Welcome back. It's almost December already. Here we are, our fourth, maybe fifth, fourth. I think I was calling it fourth, but nonetheless, we'll try to have at least 5 next semester and just keep this going. The last couple times we met was with Coach Spears. He's done a lot of this leadership stuff, and I think the 2 big takeaways that I liked from that, he asked everyone at them was who was not here with Coach Spears the first time that he did. So some of you are brand new, so a lot of you didn't see this or weren't here for this. And if you remember, he asked you, he went around the whole room. Everybody had to answer this question of who was a leader or somebody that you look up to that you want to lead like or be like in terms of your leadership. Do you remember doing that? Yeah, that's a hard thing to do, but the thing that I think that was really cool about that is it kind of starts to define your type of leadership, like who you kind of want to be. You're going to be yourself. You're going to be yourself. You should be yourself. But it kind of gives you a little bit of a little groundwork of like, this is kind of where I'm coming from. This is the stuff that I've pulled from people that I've respected. You talked about maybe 1 or 2 people, and a lot of you said your parents, dad or your mom, which is great, right? But think about all the other ones that you're starting to pull stuff from. Even these meetings, you'll pull things from people, and then you become your own leaders. I think that's the groundwork. So I want you to pay attention to that. That was the start of that. So if you were not here, think about that. I won't go around the room right now, but think about who's the person that you want to kind of emulate and be like as a leader. Come on in, Rick. The second thing he asked you guys, if you weren't here for this, is something I think you should continue to do. What was the thing he asked you to do? Your homework. Texting teammates, right? Like uplifting them, giving them something after a rough practice, after a bad day. We've had winter sports just started, right? Some things went well, some things didn't go well for athletes. Are you attentive to that as leaders and saying, hey, let me give a quick text to this kid that I know that's struggling, he's frustrated, or she's frustrated, right? And just kind of get their spirits. But are you doing those little things as a leader? That takes no talent, right? That just takes a little effort, a little compassion, empathy, because you've all been there. We've had frustrating moments as athletes where you didn't play as much as you thought you would, or you didn't make the play that you thought you could make. So I think those are the 2 takeaways I really want you to kind of refocus on and remember, and move forward, right? Move forward. So today, I had to bring this guy in here. This guy's Josh. I'm going to show you some stuff about him and kind of I'm going to probably talk a little bit more about Josh than I normally would. He's a professional basketball player now overseas. He's here for the whole year. He's getting both ankles replaced or reconstructed so he can continue to play. So we have him here. He's coaching with our JV team. He and his brother Jordan did a Georgia class last year. Jordan. That's their brother. They're coaching together now, and it's a really cool thing. So I was like, while you're here, we need to kind of get you around, get Josh around you guys, because he has been through it all. I saw him as a freshman and a sophomore. If you remember this, Josh, when Coach Brands were at the JV game, they pulled Josh off because maybe he turned it over, maybe he had a couple fouls, and he had an emotion level that his emotions were like, he was shaking. He was so mad. He's been there. He's been in those emotional moments where it's like you can't even console the guy, to being an amazing leader on the team. And by the time he's a senior, he's growing up. He's taking things on. He's being a huge leader in his program and for his friends. He made that whole team like a big group of friends. And then he goes on and he experiences it at Wyoming, the University of Wyoming, and that whole dynamic and going through that process of developing yourself to be one of the leaders again. And he did it. Mountain West Player of the Year his senior year in the whole Mountain West for the University of Wyoming. He was through his leadership and obviously through his ability. And I'll show you some paths so you can kind of get remember or see where this guy is and what he did for us. I know he won a state championship here with us. It's the only boys state championship we've ever had, and I would argue that it's one of the best state championship games that's ever happened for 5A, 6A maybe. And he made the play that we had a lot of good plays in that game, as he would tell you with a lot of our teammates. But he made the play at the end, that tip in. It's on the mural on the wall out there. You can probably see that picture on the wall out there. It's a picture of probably the biggest play in the school's history on the men's side of things. We've got a lot of good men's programs. Some are really close to tapping into that championship, and we're ready for that. That was a special thing for us and for Josh as well and his teammates. But he has gone through. So this is your fourth professional team. 8. That's the world outside of college, right? Even in college, sometimes you go to college, you'll be in 2 or 3 colleges nowadays. And then in the pro level, you never know where you're going. He had an amazing run at Tasmania in Australia, and that Australia league is one of the best in the world too. Took his team to the finals, 5-game series. I think he averaged like 30 points a game, at least 30 points a game. And, but again, it's a competitive thing. It's not just basketball. And, he's learned so many different aspects of that going all the way through to where he is now. He's going to keep playing and wants to keep getting better. He's always on the path of trying to improve. But it's cool to kind of hear some aspects of what that looked like for him. So that's what he's going to be here to do. This might bleed into 2 sessions. We'll see how it goes. We want you guys to really engage with him and ask a lot of questions. There may be times where he's giving you some things, write those things down, whether it's on paper or on your phones, right? Get those things down to take with you. This is the stuff you take from here to your team, right? And we'll record it so your coaches have an idea what's going on. But let's just step back for a second. I'm going to show you a little highlight. One from Wyoming. There's a bunch of, if you go to YouTube, you'll find a bunch of them. And then there's one from the high school one I'll show you guys if they didn't see it yet. And of course, the Bluetooth doesn't work, so there'll be a lot of volume to it. Pretty fun, huh? Now this is state championship game, and we were up by 2, and they're shooting a free throw, and there's about 24 seconds here, so we're up by 2. This is already in overtime. You guys know Mr. Keyser, the Keyser Images guys? His son, to go into overtime, made a crazy shot to get us into overtime, and now this is Good on the I get the chills every time I watch that. But yeah, you can see like just the emotion of the team together right there, and the family and all that piece. So that's who Josh is. Josh, I'm gonna turn it over to you, man. So welcome, give him a round of applause.
I'm gonna sit down if that's okay with y'all. Just off surgery, I feel your pain. Just got out of the boot. I'm not supposed to be, but Sue, don't tell Jeff on me. Like Coach Johnson said, my name is Josh Adams. I've been playing professionally for the past 8 years. I spent 4 years here from 2009 to 2012. 4 years in Laramie, the University of Wyoming from 2012 to 16. And I've been playing professionally the past 8 years. I played in just about every country in the world. You'd probably be harder pressed to find somewhere that I have not been. My first year I went to Russia, I went to Turkey to China, China to Spain, Spain to Italy, Italy to Australia, Australia to Toronto, Toronto to Slovakia. So I've kind of been everywhere. Highs and lows, I've been cut for probably 3 or 4 teams. And really the only thing that I can put a finger on that qualifies me more than you guys to be up here is that I've failed a hell of a lot more. So I say that because you see the highlights, you see the success stories, but being a leader is much more about failing and coming back from it than it is from anything else. So that would be my first piece of information for you guys is that failure is not resolute, failure is not final, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But also I want this to be interactive. I don't want to sit here and talk at you guys. I don't want to sit here and talk to you guys, or you guys want to sit here and vibe with you guys. If you have something to say, any bit of information, any type of question, don't feel afraid to raise your hand or just blurt it out. Make sure that you're getting your ideas out there and the questions that you have out there. Because being a leader, you got to understand your audience. So I can't do my job here today unless I know what it is that you guys are looking for. Because it's the difference between leading on the court and leading off the court. When you're on a team, you know what your team is looking for. You know what your guys are looking for. Off the court, not so much. You need to be aware of that. Always be aware of your audience. So if you guys have anything to say about this entire process, please feel free to raise your hands and let me know. So off the bat, is there a direction that you guys want to go with this? Does anyone have any questions off the rip for me, or any direction that you guys want to take it? No ideas at all? Nobody has any ideas? This room filled with people? Not a single one.
Hey, how did you see yourself grow from a freshman, sophomore year to winning the state championship as a senior?
I didn't, to be completely honest with you. At that time, I was very, I don't know if selfish is the word. I don't think I was a selfish player or a selfish person, but those emotions Coach Johnson talked about when I came off the court, pissed off, throwing every cuss word in the book, kicking chairs, whatever it may be. It was very rarely about my teammates, very rarely about my coaches. And I would say probably 80% of the time it was about myself. Disappointed in myself, pissed off at failure, pissed off at not being perfect, not being the best, because I was always told I wasn't the best, I wasn't the biggest, wasn't the fastest, wasn't the best basketball player, blah, 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 blah. And it pissed me off, and that's what drove me. So I felt like in those situations, those prophecies that other people had spoken about me were coming true. The other 20% was the officials. So, but to be honest, this is another point that I had to be brought up later, is that a lot of the times, as impactful leaders, you're not going to recognize, you're not going to see your impacts, your effects until after the fact. I mean, Coach Johnson, when he asked me to come in here and speak, he brought up different situations that to me meant nothing or very little. It was just kind of the right thing to do. And, you know, here I am 15 years later, realizing that that impacted not only the people that I was interacting with, but the people that surrounded the situation. So to answer your question, from my freshman to senior year, freshman to sophomore year in high school, it wasn't on my mind. I just wanted to win. I wanted to prove everybody wrong. I wanted to play college basketball. I wanted to play professional basketball. It probably wasn't until I got humbled at the University of Wyoming several times where I started to kind of see those dynamics start to play out and be intentional and aware about developing those leadership skills, really. So if you're not recognizing the changes that you've made, don't freak out. It's all going to come to fruition later on. Anything else from the kids?
What's your mentality like, just going like team to team when you're close to the world? Like, how do you like stay strong and just keep moving forward?
Great question. I have an incredible family, an incredible wife that kind of keeps me grounded. But every single situation, not just basketball-wise, but every situation that you step into is an opportunity. And as you start to grow, you need to start to become intentional about everything you do. And intentionality is a combination of awareness and action. So you have to be aware of the opportunity. You have to take action in the situation. You have to be intentional about it. Every situation that you step into is an opportunity. Every interaction with another person is an opportunity. You can lift them up, you can do nothing, you can bring them down, but it's never stagnant. Every interaction, there is never an interaction with another person, another team, with yourself that has no. You're moving forward, you're moving back. There's no staying still. So that's my mentality, is that I'm going to be exactly where my feet are, not immersed in how terrible last season was, that I got cut last season, or that I took Tasmania to a championship and then got cut, you know? So that would be my biggest thing, is you have to be where your feet are and recognize the opportunity in front of you. And that takes a lot of intentional awareness, because your mind is going to pull you in 1,000 different directions. Why am I here? Am I going to like it? Is it going to work out? When you're in Europe playing, am I going to get my money? Am I going to get paid? Am I going to get cut? And so if you're not intentional about controlling your thought process, those things are going to run you rampant, and there's no space left to lead or impact people positively. Make sense? Anybody else? No? So I just want to piggyback up off of what John Spears said, because I am, in addition to being a professional basketball player, I'm getting my master's degree in clinical mental health counseling and psychology. So I think that's a big piece, is that you never want to take or miss an opportunity to reach out to somebody, because a lot of the times it's hidden. I can't tell you the amount of guys that I've played on teams with or interacted with in high school, just regularly. What's up? Cool, see you. That are no longer with us. We've got a great kid that I grew up with. He's a little bit older than me. I played JV with him. I played varsity with him. I played football with him. Who recently took his own life, and he was the happiest kid ever. Him and his brother, happiest two people probably this program has ever seen. So you never know what people are going through. So make sure, like I said, with every interaction with somebody is an opportunity, because you never know what they're going through. So I just wanted to piggyback off of that. So that kind of leads into my attitude issues always came from a place of perfection, which is a myth. Chasing perfection is oftentimes more of a hindrance than it is productive, because the very essence of human nature is flawed. So everybody in here is imperfect. None of you are going to lead perfectly. You're all going to fail a lot more than you succeed. And you're going to succeed because of those failures. So we need to switch our mentality, our thought process surrounding failure. Like I said at the beginning, the only reason that I am more qualified to be up here is probably because I'm a little bit older, traveled, sure, but it's because I fail every day. Every single day I fail. And we have to be, same thing, intentional about those failures, because if we just view it as a failure, then you're coming off the court kicking chairs, cussing refs, making a fool of yourself. But you can use those failures to flip the switch and drive future change. And that's the biggest thing that I can say for Rob, for these guys bringing in people. We're here to tell you what our failures have taught us, so that you don't have to make those same mistakes and struggle through those same failures. Does that make sense? So any ideas of what that kind of looks like if you fail, what your next steps could be or should be? Any input? And I'm stubborn, so I'll sit here and let y'all think and talk. You already went.
We have a person in the back row, the soccer players.
Yeah.
The soccer players in the back is.
Talk to me, Doc.
I said the first step is figuring out why or what caused that mistake, that failure. Dissect, looking at what went wrong personally or the team to cause that mistake.
What's the question?
Well, you said you kind of have to ask what steps after failure. And his response was you got to examine the failure, why it happened personally or at a team level. Anything else?
You can't like hang on to it, not it too much, because like at least for us, like we've had some like seasons that aren't very good, and like just bringing them up isn't helpful. But like using like what happened, like to improve like next season or the next game, instead of like just focusing on one.
Right. So my input on it is kind of a combination of both. You guys both hit the nail on the head, but I would combine them. Because if we ignore failure, we can't learn from it. If we never talk about it, we can't learn from it. But if we dwell on it for too long, it becomes detrimental. And we, as people, so much occurs in our subconscious below our level of awareness, right? So the more we dwell on it, it becomes less about we lost, less about we failed, and starts to slowly metastasize into I'm a failure. We're a failure. I suck. That brings your energy down. And that brings everybody's energy down around you. And that can lead. As a leader, you guys all in this room have made the decision to be leaders. So as you as this kind of energy grows and metastasizes, everybody subconsciously picks up on this. A lot of you guys said your parents are your leaders, right? Why? Who said their parents is a leader? 2 people, that's it. Why? You listen to them your whole life?
My father, he doesn't let me dwell on the mistakes I made.
Say it again.
He doesn't let me dwell on any mistakes I made in the game. He'll understand it and be like, you're not going to sit here and say that you said like that.
Mm-hmm.
That was not the whole game. That was one of them. You cannot say that. You have to learn that there are mistakes in the game and that there are good things in the game. Focus on the good things and understand your mistakes. That's what I'm saying.
Anybody else at a more core level, a younger level? Why you follow your parents, why you listen to your parents? because humans, we copy things. So you're copying people, your friends, the people you surround yourself with, and from a very young age, your parents. Subconsciously, again, this is below our level of awareness, we start to imitate. And we take things from them. You don't even know it. So your teammates as leaders are going to take stuff from you. So as that energy drops, as I suck, it slowly becomes we suck, and then failure of the season. So it's a combination of both. We have to move on, but we first have to address the failure, right? What happened? Examine it, be intentional, be aware of what happened. Think about what we can do differently, but constructively, and then move on. Because every day, every second, every minute, depending on the situation, you know, if it's a game, we were down, we shouldn't have won state. We were down 18 going into the fourth to Dakota Ridge. It's like a 1 versus 12.
It was the round of 32. We were the like 1 versus something like that.
We should have lost that game. And instead of, we didn't have time to, but instead of thinking about everything that we had done incorrectly, we called a timeout. Me and my guy Corey Calvert, who was also back up here, he was awesome. He was player of the year as well. Kind of just took it over and said, look, we're not losing this game. It's not gonna happen. Forget everything else that's happened. We came back and win. Mitch Parsons, our backup big man, so probably our 9th guy on the bench, hits a turnaround jump shot off of a rebound to advance us to the next round, and the rest was history. Every moment, so in a game it's every play, in a day it's every hour, in a year it's every day, every month. Every second that we spend dwelling on failures, dwelling in that I suck, I failed, is a missed opportunity, like I said in the beginning, to be where your feet are. And you're not going to recognize it again. It happens below the awareness level. You're going to interact with him, pissed off, I'm a failure, and you're not going to recognize the impact that's going to have on him. With every person.
You can jump in there real quick, James, real quick.
Go ahead.
When he talked about that timeout that we called against that coverage game, we were in panic mode, right? We were in panic mode. Coaches were in panic mode. I'm lost. I don't know what to say. We called timeout, and literally, Corey as well, but Josh, he just stepped in and took the timeout over. Like, my point to that is, he was in the moment, right? You're going to have those moments. Right now, you're in those moments. Are you just sitting there and saying nothing? Are you patting somebody on the back? Or are there moments where you're like, go to your teammate and say, we got to get this done now? It could be tennis, guys. It could be any sport. It doesn't have to be basketball. Every sport has their moment. Are you sitting idle? Or are you just flat out taking over? And trust me, in that high intense situation, you're going to have those. You're going to listen to each other more than you're going to probably listen to the coaches. You really are. As long as somebody is actually speaking up. If you don't have anybody speaking up, then you have to listen to the same coach who's been talking the whole game, the whole year. Right? It's the same voice. Your voice is a new one. You got to understand, believe in that, and trust it. Trust that voice. The other question I have for you real quick before, because I think our coaches are going to hear this, would love to hear this. Like, when things get bad at the next level, like, because in college, he had a great college coach, amazing guy. And these coaches at the pro level too, that's all they do, right? So that's their job. So when things go really bad, what's different? What's like a common thread that you might see, Josh, where, all right, we just had a horrible game or a horrible week. What do those programs do to turn that tide, to turn it around? Like, what do they do with that? Can you think about that a little bit? Expand on that?
Any ideas? Has anybody experienced that? I mean, I think we're all athletes here, yeah. Anybody experienced that? I mean, I know Ava, Grace, sorry, spoke to it about the soccer team, the soccer season. No, not. If everybody in here has never experienced a losing season, there'd be a lot more banners out there. So anybody had that experience where you stink for a period of the season, you stink for the whole season, you stink now maybe? What's the next step? What next step did you take? Now everybody's a champion.
So my sophomore year, we went to Arizona, kind of got blown out of the water against some Arizona teams. And going into the season, it was kind of thought it was going to be like the last one. My freshman year, they didn't do so hot. They were a 500 team. And when we came back, we kind of found our culture, found our identity. And after that, we kind of took off and had the most successful season that our baseball team's ever had.
You hit it right on the head. Coach Shy was a huge culture guy. Everything was culture based. This is who we are. This is what we do. And so, my freshman year, I think we lost 6 guys off of the team for some criminal stuff, some failed drug tests, some scholastic stuff, ineligibility, and we tanked the back half of the season. And Shy just reinforced us with new guys that fit into the culture, but that culture was determined by a set of guys. We had a set of non-negotiables. Our non-negotiables are things we do not compromise on. So for athletics, it could be defense, rebounding, assists, passing, whatever. Ours was aggressive, disciplined, and unselfish. And we rested our hat on that for the next 3 years. My junior year, we won the championship, went to the NCAA tournament, went to March Madness, got to play in Seattle, watched teams like Louisville and Kentucky play. So it's always about taking the next step. Sometimes that next step is backwards in the sense of getting to the root of who we are as a team, or the root of who you are as a person. So that's something you guys got to think about, both on the floor and off the floor. What are your non-negotiables? And if you can start implementing those now, you're going to be way ahead of the curve. Because like I said, when I answered Coach's question, when I was this age, I wasn't thinking about this stuff. And that's where I made a majority of my mistakes on and off the court. Start developing non-negotiables so that when you fail, you have something to revert back to and say, okay, let me reset. I know not to do this. Here's my core. Let me go in a different direction. And that goes back to intentionality and being right where you feel. Because you failed. You're not a failure. You lost. You're not a loser, right? So if you revert back with this mentality like, damn, we suck, then you're just going to go in a completely different direction. You revert back, you say, oh, damn, we lost. What did we do that was not of our culture? What did I do that was not characteristic, that didn't work? Okay, let me scratch that, get to my core, and take off again. It's repetition. Fail, try again, fail, try again, fail, try again, fail, try again. Sometimes you win championships. But we failed, tried again, failed, tried again, failed, tried again, failed, won a championship, went to college, failed, tried again, failed. Make sense? You see how it goes, right? Here's the thing. Failure is not going anywhere. That's life. It's the worst part of life, but it's not going anywhere, so we might as well get comfortable with it. And we need to change our perception of failure. You got to do that by being intentional about your thought processes. Okay? Because if you let your thoughts run wild without paying attention to what you're thinking, it's going to drive you into the ground. Think of your thoughts as like, anyone ever like hiked a 14er, or gone on a trail run or anything like this, right? Bike riding, anything on a trail. The more you take this path, the more I take this path up and down the mountain, the easier it becomes. You wear the plants down, the rocks get out the way, you got a nice smooth path, right? So think about that. If you're thinking I'm a loser, I suck, he suck, anything negative, on, off the court, translate it however you want, any negative thought, the more you think it, the more you don't pay attention and counteract it or challenge that thought, the easier that becomes to travel. And the angrier and sadder you get. But the less you use that pathway, what happens? Plants grow back, right? Wild takes over. Harder to use that. It's harder to think that yourself. So you got to control our thoughts before our thoughts start to control us. Make sense? Anything else? Quick segue here before we move on to the next stuff. Any questions about that?
What's like the best way to deal with like blocking other people out of your head? If you're in like a team sport, an individual sport, and you're like going up against like a really good team, how did you deal with like blocking them out and just focusing on like your team and yourself?
Still working on that. I'm an extremely competitive person. I'm sure most of you are. And what I did, I love to hear it because it fueled me. I wanted to prove everybody wrong every step of the way. But what I would advise you to do instead is the same way we can be intentional about our thoughts, we can be intentional about what we hear. Much more difficult. This is what like meditation, awareness is really challenging. When you sit there with like unguided meditation, you try to think all these thoughts flood into your mind, right? And it takes practice to be able to hear the things you want to hear and tune out the rest. Great practice. When you hear somebody trying to get into your head, right? I talked about being aware of these thoughts. We can begin to challenge the words of others that we know are untrue about ourselves. And that is going to subconsciously train you to stop listening to the negative things you say to yourself. Let's say we have 300,000 thoughts a day or something, whatever it was. 75% of them are going to be negative when you don't pay attention. So I would say more often than not, we're thinking these things, these negative things about ourselves before people say it. Or we hear it one time and then we implement it as fact, which is not true. You have to begin to challenge those thoughts, challenge those words. So when they say something to you, flip it. What sport do you play? Wrestling. So you hear somebody say, you can't keep it on the fairway, right? Slices every time. She's going to slice this one. She's just, no, I'm not. This one's dead center. Deep breath. Smooth swing. Hips forward, whatever it is. Dead fairway. Repeat it. Boom, boom, boom. Step up. Rip it fairway. And then look at him and smile. Your work is done. You know what I mean? And if you do slice it, then what? What is that?
Just have to reset and keep going.
It's just another opportunity, right? It's just another opportunity. That's all it is. Another opportunity to retrain your mind, train yourself to not listen, reset, smoke the next shot. And that's something that I wish I would have learned so long ago. I learned this from my sports psychologist that I work with named Dr. Faria has taught me this, because I struggled with that a lot, especially as I got up into college and pro, where all the fans' opinions matter, and social media really kind of became big when I was going into college, and you have this influx of information and opinions and criticism and hate and this and that. So this is something I wish I would have known, and this goes back again to it's all about thoughts and being intentional and being aware. That's the biggest thing to be a leader, is you have to be constantly aware, because as humans, we're wired to run efficiently, which means we run off our subconscious, which isn't thinking. And in sports, sometimes that's good. That's where we want to live. In the parasympathetic, we call it the flow. When the basket seems like it's this wide, the fairway seems this wide, and the goalposts expand by 10 feet. And you're just in the zone. You can do no wrong. So that's when it's good. But we also have to be aware every second of the day of what's going on. What thoughts are we allowing into our heads? What thoughts are we repeating to ourselves? And what our thoughts are causing us to communicate to others. Because it's a vicious cycle. And once you get into a cycle, it's hard to break. It's like habits. So we want to start drilling those good habits now. So I would look at it as an opportunity. I would actually try and start to seek it out. I would try to listen for people. And then I would flip it. Don't listen to people and then take it to heart. Listen to people, flip it, and start establishing what you say about yourself. And the more you do that, it's not going to work right away. It's extremely difficult. This takes time, and it's failure. But once you get in that mindset where you can hear something, disagree with it, speak your truth, and then implement it, then you're unstoppable. Because then failure only boosts you up. Negativity only boosts you up, and you're untouchable at that point. And I'm still trying to get there. Every day I'm still trying to get there. So that tells you it's not an easy path, it's a decision. And that kind of bleeds into the greater message that leadership isn't a destination. None of you are ever going to be signed on the dotted line. Congratulations, you're a certified leader. I'm sure there's somewhere online you can get it. But those leaders come out, they lead, they fail. Leadership is a lifelong process of learning, a lifelong process of failure. and a lifelong process of bouncing back.
What sport did your sport psychologist, what sport did he tell you to pick up to learn that?
Golf.
Golf.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Golf. That's really where it came to light the most. I started playing golf, started hating myself. It's a joke, but golf is a very good game for us, so I think you're in a great position. But I would really start to be super, super aware of that. And you could do that on the daily. I know there's drama in high school. Been there, done that. Flip it. Immediately. Any other questions? Ideas? Information? Nothing. Go ahead.
So we have like a pretty new team this year, and you know you're big on like mental health now. We had some drama with our coach, and she ended up quitting in September. On Palm's team, by the way, if that helps at all. And over like our summer training and stuff, she really got into some of these girls' heads, and like to this day, when we're in practice, sometimes I can see them like doubt themselves a lot. And like I was coached by her my past 3 like years, so I kind of figured out how to like get her out of my head. But some of our like underclassmen, I can still see like really get shaken up still when we're about to perform because of it and because of things she said. Like, do you have any advice of like in a leadership position, like how to help them like shift their mindset? Because I feel like I'm not the best at like explaining how I shift mine. I don't know.
So it's very rarely going to be what you say, and it's going to be a lot of what you do, making them feel valued, making them feel appreciated, and speaking the same. You don't need to tell them how to speak positivity into themselves or how to flip that mindset. You just start to build them up. Every chance you see, you look great today, compliment, gas them up. It's hard because it's not going to happen immediately. But one of the most important things about leadership and failure is in order to be a good leader of a team, of a group, you have to lead yourself. And like I said, that means switching your mindset about failure, changing how you view failure, changing how you view what people say, what you say about yourself. And in doing so, that subconsciously automatically starts to teach you like, hey, this person isn't perfect either. So you giving them that positivity, you learning to accept your failures and grow, subconsciously, slowly, that's giving them permission to not be perfect. And then the more time passes, it's okay to not be perfect. It's okay to mess up. Then you're not so worried about it, and you can perform. That's that parasympathetic side, that flow I was talking about. It's where we get into it, where we're not concerned and focused on the aspects of failure. You know, oh crap, like I'm about to perform. What's the third step? Panic, right? But as soon as you remove that stigma of failure, making you a failure, that pressure is off. And then that's when that subconscious takes over and you do what you do. You're a dancer, so what do? You dance. You're a hooper, what do? You hoop. You're a soccer player, what do? You get busy on the soccer field. So it's very rarely about trying to fix them or trying to teach them something, and more so about making them feel it's okay. Because it is. You know, it's right now it's everything for all of you. But it's high school talks. Right? And I've been there. I look at this now and I can say it's high school comps, but I'm gonna go back overseas and it's gonna immerse me. And this is my life. And I'm very lucky to have my wife that travels with me and my family to kind of remember, help remind me that that's also not true. Same way as failure, being final isn't true. Being perfect or this sport, it's not everything. Not that it doesn't matter, but we want to remove this pressure and this stigma surrounding a thing as everything, and failure as final, or success as I'm God. None of it's fun. Everything is always moving. Everything is malleable. Everything is always changing. Everything is adapting. So my advice to you would be to speak positivity to them. Like Coach Spear said, shoot them a text. Speak positivity. Speak growth. Failure is okay. And the more that you can embody being okay with failure, the more they're going to see it. It's just like why I asked you, why do we follow our parents? It's because we subconsciously see the things that we argue like our parents, we shop like our parents, we get houses like our parents, we listen to music like our parents, oftentimes the movies we like are our parents, on and on. Why? It's just because it's what we see. They see you positive. They see you fail and bounce back. It becomes okay. Especially when a coach gets on them, if you can walk up to them and say, hey, it's all good, I'll see you next one. Maybe even fake a failure here and there. You know? I used to do that when we played, you know, sometimes kind of just make a fool out of yourself and laugh it off because it boosts them at the right times. You know, it's not, you know, don't screw up in an important routine when your coach is mad. But, you know, there's times where you can do stuff like that. And as they start to see that and be around that, it comes back to somebody was talking about culture. As you build that culture of it's okay to fail, we're going to be okay. That pressure is removed, you get parasympathetic, everybody just does what they do, and it slowly starts to build. And the more you speak to them, it's okay, the more they tell themselves it's okay, the more it is okay. And then, you know, everything's okay. The sun comes up tomorrow. Great question, Mike.
On like the flip side of what you were saying, I don't know if you know, but our team went last year, our football team went 1-9, this year we were 0-10. So it feels like as a team, like we've kind of just accepted failure the last couple of years, and it sucks. Like I hate seeing it from like leadership standpoint, like just being on the team. And now we're like just starting the off season, like lifting and stuff, but I just definitely still feel like that. Just the weight of the failure sitting around, and it doesn't really feel like right now like anyone really wants to do anything about it. Like no one's really passionate enough right now to make that change and like become a winning team. Which is, you know, as a leader, like the only thing I want from my team. So how can I like kind of cultivate that anger that I feel about the last couple seasons and like just how passionate I am, we all are about the team, and like bring that to the rest of the team.
You asked the right guy that question. You asked the right guy.
Culture, one, non-negotiables, probably flip the two, non-negotiables create culture. So figure out what your non-negotiables are. Are you senior?
Yeah.
Captain?
Next year. Yeah.
Right. So you can kind of spearhead that. What do you have to do to establish? So you got to figure out what your non-negotiables are as it pertains to football, not like as it pertains to football. Figure out what your non-negotiables are. All of you guys football. How are you going to fix the season? How are you going to win next year? What can you do? How are you going to fix 0-10 right now? In the second.
I mean, we just gotta work harder and like know what we're working for, because it definitely felt like last year we were kind of like the first week of the season, it was like super tight game. I could tell everyone was super invested, and then we ended up falling short, like we were leading the last 2 minutes. And it felt like after that point, you know, we kind of just accepted like it was a team again. Like we just can't let that happen. I think we need to just keep pushing and just like stay passionate about everything we did.
I think piggybacking off what you said, there is definitely a lack of motivation for people. We also are in the rebuild because we just got a new coach and coaching staff, all that. So I think instilling those expectations, like those simple non-negotiables, like just showing up and being there to take in that information and be present in those situations is a big thing. Because we get a little lackadaisical on the team, and a lot of people tend to skip or not be there, not be present in certain situations. And it hurts a team more than people think, because just having certain people around creates more of a presence and more of that motivation, more energy around them. So I think that's a big thing too.
Non-negotiable number one. Show up. Every day. Starts with y'all. Because I'm talking to you. Show up. If you're not going to show up, somebody needs to know a day in advance. Not an hour, not 20 minutes. Give me a day. unless it's something extraneous, you got sick, something came with the family, somebody needs to know. So that should be non-negotiable, number one. But also not how you fix the season right now. How do you fix the season right now? Can't. There's nothing you can do sitting here right now to fix that. The only thing you can do, non-negotiable, number one, is show up. And you show up every day and you dominate that moment. This morning, you dominate that lift. There's nothing else. There's no losing season. There's not I hope we win next season. It's I'm dominating these 10 reps. Now we're outside of it. What can you do? You can start building culture with your team. Speaking victory. Tell them you're proud. Tell them you love them. So excited to get back to work with you. Start to build that. And then you get in that weight room, y'all got to bring the energy. Positive energy. Be vocal. Yeah, it's a good day today. It's a good day to get swole. Pick a guy that's lazy. How you feeling today? You're with me. Let's go. No. I'm going to lift. No, you're with me. Come on. Let's go. No talk about next season. No talk about last season. No talk about rebuild. No talk about accepting failure. We were so close. No. We're talking about the set. That's it. You leave, you tell them you love them. Great work today. I'm proud of you. Love you. See you after 6. See you after 6, you bring that same energy. That's building that culture. When I was in Tazi, we went to the championship on an expansion team with the lowest budget in the league. I hate the coach with a passion.
I thought you liked him.
No, I liked playing for him until it was a whole disaster with contract negotiations at the end. Hate him. But he got guys that buy into a culture. And you guys can determine that. Non-negotiable number 2, buy into the culture. What's the culture? Bring up the non-negotiables. If you're not with it, get rolled over. Get out of here. I don't care how good you are. Go play somewhere else. Because that's not who we are. You have to figure out who you are. And right now, who you are is we're another failing team. There's a difference between accepting a failure and accepting failure. Don't accept failure. You failed last year. Oh, last year. What we talked about in the beginning. Address the failure and don't dwell on it. You're dwelling on it. When did season end? You're still talking about failure. See what I'm saying? How you feel right now? If you look at last season, you feel like a failure? You're dwelling. You gotta move on. So how you gonna move on? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There should be 6 other players. By the end of the first period, there should be 12 people that have spoken positivity and love into each other. All right? Not negotiable. Intentionality. Everybody's been super quiet today outside. You guys have picked it up a little bit, but this is your time, and this is your time to learn stuff. You guys have chosen to be here, I think. Be intentional. It's awkward to speak up in front of people. It's awkward to put your concerns out, but it's also strength.
Hey, you know what? This is a great pause moment. Great question. Yeah, it started to get going. It started to get going. And I started to think that you guys started digging in deep and actually paying attention to each other's stories, right? We kind of got to get these guys going. I would love to keep this conversation going and bringing up new stuff. It not be until after Christmas, probably. Yeah, probably after Christmas. Because they're December. You guys don't have like 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks. Shoot me feedback by that email. If you're like, hey, I'm getting a majority, like, hey, let's get one more meeting before the Christmas break. Let's jump. Let's do it. If you want, if waiting is better, we'll have to break. He's got nothing else to do, basically. He ain't going anywhere. And to me, this might have been one of the best meetings I've seen. That came out real. We got real. It was very pointed and very. I loved it. Thank you. That was amazing.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Round of applause. Yeah. Hey. Thanks. Give me feedback or let me know if you really want what you're thinking. If you want to get another one quickly before the break, now that your Christmas comes up, is that time or not? Or you want to get him at early in January? it'll be right away. Right when we kind of get back, we'll get them in here and kind of get that.
If anybody has questions or something that they're embarrassed to ask, or just a quiet person, or if anybody needs help, man, get my number from Coach, shoot me a text. I'm always here, right?
And after school, you're here quite a bit now with practice.
Yeah, I'm always after school here with JV. Any of you, I'm pretty good with faces, terrible with names, but if any of you walk past me and don't say anything, I'm gonna be so mad.
That's right. That's so deal. All right, very good job. You guys have a good day, huh? Appreciate
Have a
it.
great day, guys. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Good job. Thanks for being here. Any questions? It's okay. That made sense. Right? Kind of the same thing football stuff. Gotta let it go. Let it go. Here we go. Thanks, Scott. Thank you. Girls, come here and talk to me real quick. Basketball. Yeah, they do. So what's the mood after last night's game? How are we doing?
We're doing good.
All right.
We could have done better in the first quarter, and that kind of like.
Battle stuff. I
Yeah.
missed the first quarter. I came with it. Oh, yeah, we were.
Like we only had free throws in the first quarter, and we missed a lot of our getting free throws too. So that kind of.
Yeah, you guys are with them with that.
Yeah.
I think it's team you guys.
Especially
A
down
couple of weird
yeah.
matchups for you guys, but you guys also create some matchup
Even
issues.
in the morning, grab a Starbucks, grab an espresso.
All right.
Get out of here. Be
The
positive.
girls will get a little more effort, push more times. I mean, preseason, first game, you're gonna be tired quick. There's only, what, 7 girls that are playing? 28? I only saw 7. But
Yeah. 7.
that's one thing I was like, yeah, we're a little either out of shape or we're not trying very hard. But, yeah, Friday, back at it.
Thank you.
I got you.
No, no worries. I know so too.
We accidentally started that whole thing right there. We started putting the chairs there, and then all the kids started putting the chairs there.
Oh, yeah, that- oh, I'm just-
Thanks for speaking to us. So,
like, I know that I can be the best version of myself because I've seen, like, I really devote myself out that like, then when I get home, I'm like, why am I not doing enough effort? And I start, like, I know I can do this effort, but I don't have, like, motivation all the time. I'm like, my biggest fear is failure, which is stupid. I mean, that's basically everybody. It's just, I heard you talk about, like, comfort and failure, and also, like, the steps to it, but it's like, if I want to be the best,